Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Truckers Podcast, FYI. I'm your host, Doug from Ontario, Canada. It is 9:30 p.m. here on the 16th of August. Online bullying. Thank you for joining me. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing today? I'm your host, Doug from Ontario, Canada. This is the Truckers Podcast, FYI. I hope everybody so far is having a good week. Man, I'm telling you, couple of days back to work after a 2 week long vacation. And I feel like they're just being run into the ground. Two back to back really long days. I walked in my front door tonight at 8:30, and I originally had the show scheduled for 9. And I thought, well, I got to get cleaned up. I got to grab something to eat real quick. 9 o'clock isn't going to happen, so I had to put it to 9:30. So, I mean, and I'm a local driver, so one day was a 12-hour today. Yesterday was 12-hour day. Today's was a 13-hour day. And tomorrow's supposed to be a little better, but we'll see how that rides out. So, I wasn't, because, I don't, like, I work outside of the city. I got a 45-minute commute to work, to the company that I drive for. And I drive all day, Toronto area, and then back to the trucking yard and a 45-minute drive home. So I didn't want it to put a damper, on my podcast. I mean, just getting back into doing this, and I've said to my listeners and my followers that I'm going to be out here every single evening. And this is what I want to do. Now, yesterday I was talking about taking Saturdays as a break, because then it gives me time to find more content to talk about on Sunday. And I think I pretty much got Sunday lined up for a show, because it is going to be on that so-called Trucker Freedom Convoy, aka the Karen Carnival, that took place in January 22. There was a video that surfaced on YouTube, and one of the organizers was being interviewed by Jordan Peterson, who is a Canadian clinical psychologist. He's written a lot of books. He's a public speaker, and he is on Daily Wire. And, going through that video to listen to what, they were talking about. And so, I've been a trucker for 30 plus years. So, I can, with the experience I have, I can weigh in on that interview, and come to the table with the truth about the trucking industry here in Canada, because drivers out there, those drivers who were part of that so-called Freedom Convoy, complaining they would never be able to work if they not never work, but they're claiming they won't be able to work if they had to come back into Canada and self isolate for 14 days. It's called domestic work. I do domestic work. I did 16 years long haul crossing the border into the United States. 15 years or 16 years. I do domestic work now. I'm home every single day. And if you have a commercial driver's license, there is no excuse not to work, and there is no excuse not to have a job. So that BS about not being able to work and want you to cry them a river is just simply BS. And there's a lot more to that too. So, and I'm also going to be doing a video at the same time. I'm going to be doing the episode, and then that video will be uploaded onto YouTube. So, anyways, that's what's going to take place Sunday at 9 a.m. So tonight, I had to. I went online and was thinking, does schoolyard bullying still take place? And I guess it does. And of course, cyberbullying, which is the most prevalent form of bullying worldwide. And as kids spend more time on their phones, and so traditional bullying is slowly becoming a thing of the past. And thinking maybe they won't get caught, than bullying in the schoolyard, right? Maybe you or somebody in the past or recent or in the present have been bullied. Even going back in the days when I was in grade school, started grade school in the late 60s, and into the 70s. Yeah, there was schoolyard bullies. I mean, we didn't grow up with any sort of media, so there was no internet, there was no cell phones, none of that stuff. So bullying was done in the schoolyards. Bullying is very traumatizing, and we should all work together to reduce it as much as possible. I think now, correct me wrong. I mean, if you're in the United States, has school already started? Because here across Canada, school starts September the 5th. So we're not that far away. We're only just a little over a couple weeks. And then, even the colleges and universities, all the high schools, public schools, Catholic schools, all hit the books starting September the 5th. Now, just because people on summer, kids and teenagers and, even adults, and we think about bullying, and we're thinking about, kids and teenagers. What about office bullying? I mean, we don't even really talk about it. We don't really hear too much about it. Workplace bullying. Now, shocking cyberbullying statistics. Canada. 35% of Canadian adolescents experience bullying. 40% of Canadian parents believe their child is being bullied. 20% of of a students aged 12 to 18 experience bullying. 70%, 7% experience cyberbullying. 1 in 10 Canadian children experience online harassment. 17% of Canadians aged 18 to 24 suffer from cyberbullying. 89% of Canadian teachers believe cyberbullying is the number one safety issue in public schools. Cyberbullying has 8 main forms. And right across Canada, United States, across the globe, to better understanding of the situation, they compiled this list. The history of cyberbullying started with the progress of technology in the 1990s, especially when the appearance of the second generation of cell phones. And by the definition, cyberbullying involves modern technology in the early 2000s. And cyberbullying on social media became a thing. It's safe to say that social media perpetrated the phenomenon because of lots of people, especially teens, are heavily invested on social networks. So where does the social media platforms, what roles do they play in this? They're obviously they perpetuated it. So what is their role? How are they working to stop it? Cyberbullying even happens in the schools. They don't have to be around the block, the other side of the city, to cyberbully. We do it right in the schools, right under everybody's noses. And with the kids using smartphones more and more, novel forms of harassment are blended with the traditional bullying in the classroom and other school facilities. Globally, 1 in 3 children suffer from bullying. One in 3 global suffer from bullying. Around 20% of the United States students aged 12 to 18 experience bullying, cyberbullying, that the states reveal. So the United States is perhaps the most sensitive um, state when it comes to bullying. And there are many reasons for this, including the multitude of school shootings in the last few decades. Some studies have suggested that many of these shootings were caused by a vicious cycle of bullying. So the United States also has the most detailed stats when it comes to the bullying specifics. 43% of bullying incidents happen in hallways or stairwells. 42% occur in the classrooms. 22% outside school grounds. 12% in the bathrooms. Only 46% of the victims actually notify an adult about the incident. And additionally, the U.S. cyberbullying statistics show that around 15% of students experience cyber harassment on the internet or via text messages. Canadian cyberbully statistics. Now, what's really going on here in Canada? According to the Canadian Bully statistics, 35% of teens, 35% of teens suffer from bullying. More than a third of all adolescents in this Great White North, it's not Great White right now, it's summertime, but you get the point. More than a third of adolescents in the Great White North experience bullying. And in at least one of its many forms, it might come to no surprise, but boys are more frequently bullied at 38% than girls at 30%. However, girls are more likely to experience indirect forms of bullying, like spreading rumors, gossip, using social influence to isolate somebody. 47% of Canadian parents believe their children is being bullied. 6.7% of adult Canadians, 6.7% of adult Canadians experience bullying. Aggressive emails and text messages were involved in 73% of the cyberbullying incidents. 55% of victims were targeted by hateful comments. 7.17% of Canadian young adults aged 18 to 24 suffer from cyberbullying, compared to 5% of those aged 25 plus. Now, according to the official Canadian statistics on cyberbullying, age is one of the main factors affecting the rates of cyberbullying. Relationship status is also a significant factor affecting the rates of cyberbullying. Now, 15% of single internet users experience cyberbullying, compared to only 4% of married people. Using chat sites and dating sites also increases the likelihood of being bullied online. I don't even go on those dating sites. It's just ridiculous. I think they're all just a bunch of players. So according to the statistics on cyberbullying, 18% of homosexual people are being bullied online. 18%. And this is also true for almost 1/4 of Canadian bisexuals, 24%. And clearly, sexual orientation also has a massive effect on cyberbullying rates. Individuals' activity limitations are more likely to experience cyberbullying. So up here in Canada, the Great White North has a reputation of being an inclusive country that respects people with disabilities. However, cyberbullying statistics from Canada show disabled people still experience more cyberbullying, and 22% of people with activity limitations are victims. Oh, great old friendly Canadians. 10.2% of victims of violent crime have experienced online bullying. And according to the Canadian cyberbullying statistics, 9% of Canadian adults from households with children are aware of a case of cyberbullying against one or more of these children. 2% are aware at least one incident that involved children being sexually lured into unwanted contacts with strangers online. And it even gets worse. 74% reported aggressive emails and messages as the main method of cyberbullies. And additionally, 16% of adults who reported online bullying in their household noticed that someone impersonated or masqueraded as their child online. "12.71% of adults aware of a case of cyberbullying stated the victim was female." And once again, the cyberbullying stats from Canada come from reports from adults rather than children themselves. This may mean that the data is more reliable and valid because victims of abuse, especially children, sometimes tend to give inaccurate reports of what had happened. Now, 13.89% of teachers believe that cyberbullying in Canada is the leading safety issue in public schools. So, in contrast, teachers view traditional form of harassment and bullying as less pressing matters. That should come to no surprise. So going back to 2010, 33 junior high and high schools in Toronto reported that nearly half, 49.5%, of survey students had been bullied online. That's just staggering. Cyberbullying harassment, sending a lot of messages to someone who doesn't want to receive them. Cyber stalking, stalking someone's online activity, including on social media. Happy slapping. Have you ever heard of this? Filming embarrassing scenes to those who are filmed and subsequent distribution of such videos. Exclusion, purposeful exclusion of certain members from online groups. Outing and trickery, deceiving the victim in order to gain sensitive personal information so that they can spread that. Impersonation and masquerading, posing as someone else online, so ghosting people. An indirect threat involves the threat of physical harm. And these are useful cyberbullying examples. Please don't try these at home. Certain studies show that happy slapping may be the most psychologically harmful to victims of cyberbullying. Now, two main forms of cyberbullying, visual and verbal, have been shown to form two highly associated factors. So, what does that mean? And these two experience one form of cyberbullying or likely also experience other forms. There's also a connection between traditional bullying and cyberbullying. Now, a European Journal of Developmental Psychology has shown that girls experience more written, verbal cyberbullying. Once again, strong family bonds play a protective role against cyberbullying. Now, the effects of cyberbullying, and are you aware of these effects caused by cyberbullying? Decreased interest in school activities, being absent, bad academic performance in lower grades, skipping classes, dropping out, and truancy. The American Society for the Positive Care of Children enumerates 6 main consequences of cyberbullying: depression and anxiety, reduced feeling of self-confidence and self-worth, sleep difficulties, physical issues, increased suicide risk, eating disorders, and substance use disorders. And 18.65% of students believe cyberbullying will stop if they simply sit and wait it out. Well, I'm afraid that's not going to happen. It's not going to stop. Now, as the stats about cyberbullying show, this form of bullying is quite prevalent, as young people in particular are spending more and more time on social networks and on the internet in general. It's quite likely that cyberbullying will only increase in the years to come. Social media platforms, they have to play a huge role in this. On our cell phones, on our laptops, our computers, any electronic devices that they all have IP addresses. And those IP addresses can be traced back to you. By not, the old fashioned way of bullying somebody in the school ground is walking up to them and pushing them around and knocking things out of their hands and calling them names and slapping them upside the head. That was the norm. And you run and tell a teacher. I don't know if they think they just get away with it because, well, I can just delete it. I can say what I want and then delete. Smartphones have hard drives too. It's a computer in your hand. It's just, for much as this is happening, and try to prevent it. And of course, again, with cyberbullying too, cyberbullying stats know in 2023. We're more than halfway through this year. It's nearly the end of August already. I can't even believe how fast this year has gone by. In the cyberbullying, stats and facts may cause you to worry about your little ones. So 2023, 46% of U.S. teens aged 13 to 17 have been bullied online. 28% of teenagers have experienced several types of cyberbullying. 41% of U.S. adults have experienced cyberbullying. 41% of U.S. adults have experienced cyberbullying. Cyberbullying victims are 1.9 times more likely to commit suicide. 42% of young people have been bullied on Instagram compared to 37% on Facebook. And the highest rate of cyberbullying is in India at 38%, followed by Brazil at 29%, and the United States at 26%. 210 out of 1,000 victims of bullying are high school girls with different skin colors. And only 38% of cyberbullying victims are willing to admit it to their parents. 68% of children that have gone through online harassment have experienced mental health issues. 42% of the LGBTQ youth have experienced cyberbullying. 33% of teenagers have sent explicit images or text to someone else at least once. 66% of female victims have feelings of powerlessness because of cyberbullying. And this simple definition of cyberbullying is a form of harassment that employs electronic forms of contact. The online bullying stats encompasses a variety of shapes of forms of this aggressive behavior: hate speech, sexual remarks, stalking, trolling, and ridicule. And if we ignore these toxic behavior, it can easily escalate to criminal levels like being imprisoned, we have here in the Criminal Code of Canada hate speech, voyeurism. It's another federal charge. So right now, general cyberbullying statistics. So it's 2023, and social media has become the main news and opinion outlet. It has affected how people communicate. And regarding cyberbullying in those interesting times, nearly half of the teenagers have experienced cyberbullying at least once. 6 main cyberbullying types: offensive name calling, spreading of false rumors about them, receiving explicit images they didn't ask for, physical threats, constantly being asked where they are, what are they doing, or who are they with by someone other than a parent, having explicit images of them shared without their consent. 41% of the United States adults experience online harassment. And you might just think that oh no, bullying just happens amongst school kids, teenagers. 31% had to deal with offensive name calling, while 26% reported purposeful embarrassment and more severe harassment, including physical threats, 14%. Sustained harassment, 11%. Stalking, 11%. And sexual harassment, 11%. And 68% of children have gone through online harassment and experienced mental health issues. The stats show 2/3 of victims, both kids and young adults, have suffered from mental health issues. And the effects of the vice include stress, depression, anxiety, and loss of empathy, amongst others. 60% of children and young people have witnessed someone going through harassment on social media. Cyberbullying is so common that more than 50% of the survey respondents reported have being present during such virtual altercations. 71% of the survey participants don't feel like social platforms are doing enough to fight the problem. Well, just the stats that I've been reading out to you. Are the social media outlets there just sitting down and they got their thumbs stuck up their ass? These numbers, these percentage numbers, that's just staggering. School bullying drastically decreased during the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, no shit. Here in Canada, I don't know, some parts of the United States too, but here in Canada, right across Canada, right from, well, I think it got in at the very start of it. So like uh, uh, that March, when the March break came up, schools, so just before the March break, and they figured they might come back after the March break, but they didn't come back to school until the following September. So yeah, school bullying drastic decreased during the for the COVID-19 pandemic because nobody was in class. Now, so obviously, the COVID-19 pandemic led to a rise in remote learning for most schools. Hence, children were bullied at school, had some respite from it. This positive outcome also extended into the frequency of the intensity of cyberbullying, with 28% decrease in reported cases between 2019 and 2021. And nearly 14% of public schools reported that bullying is a discipline problem occurring daily or at least once a week. And the middle schools report the highest rate of bullying at 28%, with high schools coming in second at 16%, and the combined schools and primary schools falling at 12% and 9% respectively. Cyberbullying is higher amongst middle schoolers, with 33%, followed by high schoolers at 30%, combined schoolers at 20%, and primary schools kids making up 5%. Over 6% of global users have had their online accounts hacked, and 4% have lost access to their devices due to hackers. So these social media bullying stats, not surprisingly, most cyberbullying cases happen via social networks, and the numbers prove it. So so when it comes to um, the social media bullying stats, Instagram has the highest percentage of cyberbullies. Social media bullying stats show that 42% of youth were bullied on Instagram more than on any other platform. And Facebook follows with 37%, and while Snapchat, WhatsApp, and YouTube are at 31%, 12%, and 10% respectively. Social networks, all right. The percentage of young people who use the platform, YouTube 92%. Percentage of young people who use who have been cyberbullied on the platform, 10%. Facebook, the percentage of young people who use the platform, 60%. Percentage of people who have been cyberbullied on that platform, 37%. Twitter, again, with the percentage of young people who use that platform, 37%. Percentage of young people who have been cyberbullied on that platform, 9%. Instagram, 78%, 42%. Snapchat, 76%, 31%. WhatsApp, 58%, 12%. Tumblr, 15%, 3%. Over 80% of children own a mobile phone and have multiple social network accounts. 50% of them admit they have seen or experienced online harassment. Now, even just witnessing online abuse as a bystander can have a psychological effect. Studies establish a direct relationship between a lack of reaction to such incidents and the likelihood of becoming a cyber bully yourself. The social media bullying stats put the LGBTQ teens at a 5% higher risk of being abused on Facebook. Internet trolls are most active on social media at 38%. Observe trolling behavior on such platforms, while 23% have seen them frequently operate on video sharing websites. Only 2% of Americans believe that social media platforms are doing an excellent job addressing online harassment. I'm surprised it's 2%. So we already know that, cyberbullying is a global phenomenon. And still, the following stats reveal some interesting data about cyberbullying in different countries. India had the most cases of cyberbullying in 2022. Online bullying stats from the EU, the most common age you are likely to experience cyberbullying is 13 to 15. And the alarming facts about cyberbullying in Asian countries, a survey among 3,000 students revealed that 48.4% have had embarrassing videos of them posted online, and 47.3% have been a victim of hate speech. "63% of internet trolls in the United States prefer to engage in political topics. Other popular subject matters are celebrities at 52% and religion at 48%. Companies are actively trying to spread awareness, and over 45% of employees in bigger companies agree that their employer has a comprehensive cyberbullying policy in place. And the workplace awareness is most notable in Australia at 57%, in the UK is at 51%. And we have the multiracial females have the highest risk of being victimized by bullies. 210 of 1,000 victims are high school girls with different skin colors, like I said. Now, bullies, they often ridicule disabilities and mental problems, like autism, 75%. Physical defects, 70%. And learning problems at 52%. Now, children are also increasingly aware of the dangers of cyberbullying. like 68% of the U.S. respondents confirmed that they are sharing less personal information online than before. Now, one of the most discussed modern phenomenons is sexting. 33% of young respondents have sent explicit images or text to someone else at least once. Now, of course, the old-fashioned bullying still continues, right? Bullying can take many forms. Obviously, physical, hitting, shoving, damaging or stealing property; verbal, that's name calling, mocking, making sexist remarks, racist or homophobic comments; and social is spreading the gossip, rumors, and excluding others from a group; written, for an example, writing notes and signs that are hurtful or insulting; and of course, with the electronic and cyberbullying, for example, spreading rumors and hurtful comments using email, text messages, and social media. In Ontario schools, principals, they have to and they must address cyberbullying. It has an impact on the school climate. And an example of that, if the student is being bullied and is embarrassed because of a social media post or email that was sent to other students in the school, the student may not want to attend school. Now, when we talk about conflicts, well, people sometimes confuse conflict with bullying, but there is a difference. Conflict between students does not always mean it's bullying. So conflict occurs between people who have a disagreement, a difference of an opinion, or different views. When there's a conflict, each person feels comfortable expressing their views. Children learn at a young age to understand that others can have different perspectives than their own. Developing the ability to gain perspective takes time and continues into early adulthood. And how people deal with conflict can make it positive or negative. So when conflict turns into bullying, conflict becomes negative when a person behaves aggressively and says or does hurtful things. Then the conflict is an aggressive interaction. Push comes to shove, comes to punch. Right? And schools respond to bullying and conflict differently. And for an example, when there's a conflict, a school staff member may try to have the students come together to tell their side of the story and help them resolve the situation together. When there is bullying, a principal will consider progressive discipline, and the progressive discipline can include suspension or expulsion. And we certainly don't want to go that route. People who bully others and stuff like that. In my opinion, is that something is troubling them, and whatever it is, they're taking it out on other people, and it could be their home life, their upbringing. Their parents. Maybe their parents don't give a shit. Maybe their parents are abusive. and people are acting out, and then we come down hard on the bully. I mean, I'm sure they look at all angles. I'm sure they look at the child at their upbringing and their home and their parents and their surroundings. I'm sure they do all this to get to the root of the problem. You know, but we have to take something out of the situation. We got to take somebody out of the situation. So we got to suspend somebody, or we have to expel somebody. Social media, schools, general public, the police. They all play a role. Family and Children's Services. So you think about all this, you think about all these stats and how prevalent cyberbullying really is. And these social media platforms that I read off to you in the percentage rates. This is 2023. Yeah, sure, they could suspend whoever's account, but it's not hard to create an account. It's not hard to do that. Because they don't know who is. Could be anybody in the household. It could be another one of their friends. Ghosting. Anybody can go online and look people up and make up a fake name, and you can follow them. They don't even know who you are. It's just too easy. It really is. So, as parents, even grandparents, siblings, we all play a role and have a responsibility to protect and get involved in stopping cyberbullying. So if you or somebody you know have been or is being bullied in any way or form, there are agencies and people to reach out to. And those are the steps that, we have to take. So I want to thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me. It's always a pleasure to have you out here. I'm glad to be back. You probably noticed, I haven't been on here very much. Personal reasons. But I'm back, and, I started just Sunday, and just did a half hour show, I think it was, and Monday went maybe 35 minutes. I think Tuesday went almost 45 minutes, and tonight is almost an hour, which I usually do at least 1 hour, right? And I will be doing shows Sunday through Friday, Saturday, take that break, but then it still gives me time to, you know, look up content, research the content, choose what content I want to talk about, and then put it out there. And then you come on my show and you join me. I used to just do it every single weekend, but you know, I started this like I think it was like January 2019. So 4 years ago, 400 plus shows, and I can do more, and I should be doing more. And of course, something comes up that I can't. I mean, it's out of my control, obviously. And of course, you can't always be on my show every single day, and I understand that. You have a life and you have things to do. You come on my show when you're available to do so, and that's really appreciative. So I mean, I get that. I mean, I don't expect you to be here every single day I'm doing a show. I mean, I work during the day, and the evenings is my time. And then I do things before I decide to do a show, and try to do it an hour before it's bedtime. Because I get up early in the morning anyway, but that's neither here or there. But I just want to do more shows. Like I said, I started this like 4 years ago, and I'm not going to stop now. That's for sure. I mean, I did for a little bit because just life happens, right? So, anyways, thank you. Just rambling on here, but thank you again, for being on my show, being that listener, being a follower. Um, that's really appreciative. So, I mean, today is Wednesday, right? Pretty sure it's Wednesday. So, tomorrow, between 9 and 9:30, I did set it up for 9 tonight, but it was just a day from hell at work. But anyways, between 9 and 9:30, and then this show will be up after I'm done here. It'll get edited, it'll go out, and then I will post up another show for tomorrow night between 9 and 9:30 p.m. And if you are following me, I'm pretty sure you get a notification. And if you can join me, that's great. If you can't, I understand. So take care. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy the rest of your week. And thank you.